One button tank, single button assist. Can you tank and just use one button? Do I need to see a gynecologist? First, the setup. The rules are simple. I'm going to be taking on all 6 tank specs, and they'll be using the exact same gear. I went to the PvE tier vendor, bought all the same pieces, and then hit up the nearby PvP vendor and bought all the pieces I was missing. And that's it. No enchants, no flasks, no pots, no food. Everything's flat baseline, so we're keeping it fair. Now for the actual tests, I'll be running 3 of them. For test 1, we'll be doing pure single button assist only. No macros, no help, just the raw feature doing its thing. Test 2, SBA plus macro. I'll be adding a custom macro to support what SBA misses. If SBA misses something really important, I'll try to capture it in the macro. And I'll be toggling it and SBA on at the same time. Test 3 will be SBA plus macro plus defensive macro versus the tank dummies. This one's survival focused. We'll see which tank lives the longest. Test 1 and 2, I'll be using the AoE configured target dummies to simulate a real AoE scenario. I want to see if SBA can handle switching to AoE. And here's the key thing, even with the macro, everything's still toggled with just my mouse. So there's the setup, all ready to see how much this one button can do. Before we start the datasets, all of the logs are linked below, and the talents that I picked to use. Just note every single version is a talent set that I got off Wowhead. When I went to Wowhead, talents, I picked one that SBA used its hero ability. Some are passive, and they perform better, so I included the best sets. Alright, let's get started with data. I'm going to do these in alphabetical order. So first up is Demon Hunter. Looking at single button assist here, these are the abilities that DH will cast. This includes Fell Devastation, Fracture, Immolation Aura, Sigil of Flame, Sigil of Spite, Soul Cleave, Spirit Bomb, and Thorough Glaive. The talents that I'm using include Fellscarred, as this performed better than the other. Looking at the results here, these will be rounded. The first pull for Demon Hunter for single button assist with no macro is 1,345,000. Pull 2 is 1,422,000. And pull 3 is 1,412,000. This gives us an average for Demon Hunter single button assist at 1,393,040. Up next is our Death Knight. For DK, we'll be using Sanlin. Is that you pronounce that?
Sanilane. Sanilane.
I'm going to go with Sanlin here. Looking at single button assist for Death Knight abilities, single button assist will cast Blood Boil, Bone Storm, Consumption, Dancing Rune Weapon, Death and Decay, Death Strike, Death's Caress, Heart Strike, Morrowind, and Soul Reaper. Looking at our results here, pull 1 for Death Knight, just SBA with no macro, came in at 1,224,000. Pull 2 came in at 1,471,000. And pull 3 came in at 1,352,000. That gives us an average overall for Death Knight SBA at 1,349,343. Up next is Druid. For Druid, we'll be using Elun's Chosen. Looking at single button assist here, Druid doesn't have many abilities that can be cast, but here's what single button assist will cover. Bear Form, Lunar Beam, Mangle, Maul, Moonfire, Swipe, Thrash. Looking at data here, for Druid with single button assist with no macro, pull 1 came in at 1,295,000. Pull 2 came in at 1,356,000. And pull 3 came in at 1,506,000. That gives us an average overall for Druid SBA at 1,385,536. Looking at Monk here, for Monk we'll be using Shadow Pan. For single button assist, these are the abilities that Monk will cast. We have Blackout Kick, Breath of Fire, G-Burst, Exploding Keg, Keg Smash, Rising Sun Kick, Spinning Crane Kick, Tiger Palm, Touch of Death. For results of Monk with single button assist with no macro, our first pull came in at 1,110,000 damage. Pull 2 came in at 1,028,000. Pull 3 came in at 1,161,000. This gives us an overall average for Monk SBA with no macro at 1,099,628. Looking at Prot Pally. For Pally, we'll be using Lightsmith, single button assist here. It has fewer abilities, and you'll notice a problem. The abilities it will cast are Avenger's Shield, Bastion of Light, Blessed Hammer, Consecrate, Divine Toll, Hammer of Wrath, and Judgment. And you might be asking yourself, where are the Holy Spenders? Looking at results here, first pull came in at a measly 525,000. Pull 2 came in at 467,000. And pull 3 came in at 493,000. That gives us an overall average for Pally SBA with no macro at 494,937. For Warrior, we'll be using Mountain Thane. Looking at Warrior abilities, Warrior only has a couple. We have Champion Spear, Devastator, Execute, Heroic Throw, Ravager, Revenge, Shield Slam, and Thunderclap. Looking at results for Warrior, single button assist with no macro, we have pool 1 coming in at 1,385,000. We have pool 2 coming in at 1,380,000. We have pool 3 coming in at 1,300,000. It gives us an average overall for Warrior SBA with no macro at 1,354,972. Looking at all our results for single button assist with no macro, from least to greatest, coming in last is Pally at 494,937. Coming in fifth is Monk at 1,099,628. Coming in fourth is DK at 1,349,334. Coming in third is Warrior at 1,354,972. Coming in second is Druid at 1,385,535. And coming in first is Demon Hunter at 1,393,040. Things to take away: Pally really suffered, having no holy spending abilities. Let's go ahead and look at single button assist with macros now. I haven't mentioned it till now, but I've been using my number 4 button here for SBA alone, and it's been on a toggle. See in my Logitech program here, if I edit this command, there's the toggle. The SBA with macro tests, I'm going to be editing this button here, 0. Not only toggle, but also to be a multi-keystroke. What I wanted to do is follow this pattern, 0, 7, 4. It'll use my macro, it'll use an ability, and use SBA. So that in Logitech, we'll record 0, 7, 4. And just turn on a toggle. And when we're in the game, we push 0 on our Logitech mouse, it just does everything for us. This is the future of WoW. I guess we just go outside now? I'm kidding, we have results to look at. So for Demon Hunter, I have my macro, the Hunt, and SBA. The macro that I'll be pushing first is a use for Trinket, which is slot 13, and cast meta at player. It'll then push the Hunt and then go into SBA. And it'll keep hitting SBA until one of these two can be cast again. Let's look at results. For Demon Hunter SBA with macro, pool 1 ended at 1,855,000. Pool 2 ended at 1,704,000. And pool 3 ended at 1,673,000. That gives us an average overall for Demon Hunter SBA with macros at 1,744,157. Up next, Death Knight. For Death Knight, our macro is use 13 for a Trinket, cast Abomination Limb, and cast Raise Dead. I set the DK macro to 0, Tombstone to 7, and SBA to 4. Looking at results for Death Knight SBA with macro, pool 1 ended at 1,433,000. Pool 2 ended at 1,456,000. And pool 3 ended at 1,547,000. That gives us an average overall for Death Knight SBA with macro at 1,478,308. Moving on to Druid next. Looking at our Druid macro here, we have cast Heart of the Wild, cast Incarnation Guardian of Ursoc, cast Berserk, and use 13. On our bar here, I have our Berserk macro set to 0, I have Iron Fur set to 7, and I have our SBA set to 4. Looking at our results for Druid SBA with macro, we got pool 1 ending at 1,549,000. Pool 2 ending at 1,619,000. And pool 3 ending at 1,643,000. That gives us an overall for Druid SBA with macro at 1,603,510. Now taking a look at Monk. For the Monk macro, it's pretty simple. Weapons of order and use 13. On the bar down here, I have our macro set to 0, nothing on 7, and SBA on 4. Looking at results for Monk SBA with macro, pool 1 ended at 1,379,000. Pool 2 ended at 1,314,000. And pool 3 ended at 1,320,000. That gives us an average overall for Monk SBA with macro at 1,337,432. Moving on to Paladin now. Our macro includes cast Avenging Wrath, use 13, cast Bastion of Light, and cast Shield of Righteous. No, this Shield of Righteous spend right here is the only way we can spend and make this actually kind of work. On our bar here, we have our macro, Holy Bulwark, and SBA. Looking at results for Pally SBA with macro, pool 1 ended at 1,652,000. Pool 2 ended at 1,600,000. And pool 3 ended at 1,611,000. That gives us an overall for Paladin SBA with macro at 1,620,942. which is pretty surprising. Up last is Warrior. Looking at the Warrior's macro here, we have cast Avatar, cast Demoralizing Shout, and use 13. Looking at the bar here, on 0 we have our macro, on 7 we have Shield Charge, and on 4 we have SBA. Look at the results for Warrior SBA with macro. Pool 1 ended at 1,716,000. Pool 2 ended at 1,697,000. Pool 3 ended at 1,683,000. That gives us an average overall for Warrior SBA with macro at 1,698,645. Looking at the results for SBA with macro, from least to greatest, we have coming in last, Monk at 1,337,432. Coming in 5th, we have the DK at 1,478,308. In 4th, we have the Druid at 1,603,510. In a surprise 3rd, we have Pally at 1,620,942. The Shield of the Righteous trick really did something. In 2nd, we have the Warrior at 1,698,645. And coming in 1st yet again, we have DH at 1,744,157. For the last test here, I'm going to test each tank survivability using our 1-button macro, but also making a defensive macro itself. Some of them will use 2, but it's still all going to be 1 button. These are the tank dummies here. They're located on top of this pillar here. And to keep everything 1 button, I technically have to make this button here 8, push a couple buttons. And I know I'm going to do 8, 1, 0, 7, 4, and set it to toggle. This way it's still technically 1 button. I'm going to stand here at the dummy and we'll see how long they live. For DH, I'm using 2 macros. My first one's going to be an 8 and it's going to cast Infernal Strike and Darkness. My second, my big defensive one, is going to cast Demon Spikes and Firebrand. We'll also be using our original SBA macro that we made to use our cooldowns, which is use 13 and cast Meta at player. On my bar, I have the first macro I mentioned, Infernal Strike on 8. My big defensive is on 1, Meta on 0, Hunt on 7, and SBA on 4. We're just going to hit 8 and it's going to queue all of them. And we're just going to stand here until long we live. With all those macros rolling in SBA, Demon Nerd came in at 5 minutes and 49 seconds. Up next is Death Knight. For Death Knight's defensive macro, we have cast Anti-Magic Shell, cast Lichborn, cast Icebound Fortitude, cast Vampiric Blood, and cast Death Strike. I noticed when DK was using its SBA, it was not actually using Runic Power that much, so I decided to put Death Strike in here. And when the sequence happens, when I push 8, it'll check Runic Power and Death Strike before it does something else, hopefully helping Death Knight to live. Also for original macro here, use 13, cast Abomination Limb, cast Raise Dead. Looking at our bar here, we have Lichborn, our defensive macro, our original SBA macro, Tombstone, and SBA itself. With all those macros rolling, DK came in at a staggering 10 minutes and 28 seconds. Holy shit. For Druid, our defensive macro looks like this. Cast Barkskin and cast Nature's Vigil. We'll also be using our original SBA macro here, which is cast Heart of the Wild, cast Incarnation Guardian Ursoc, cast Berserk, and use 13. Looking at our bar here, we have Frenzy Regen bound to 8, our defensive macro bound to 1, our original SBA macro bound to 0, Iron Fur bound to 7, and SBA itself bound to 4. With all those defensives rolling, Druid came in at 4 minutes and 29 seconds, right behind Demon Hunter. Moving on to Monk. For the defensive macro, we have cast Diffuse Magic, cast Purifying Brew, cast Dampen Harm, and cast Fortifying Brew. We'll also be using our original SBA macro, which is cast Weapons of Order and use 13. Looking at our bar here, I tried a few iterations, and believe it or not, this is the best result I was able to get. We have Purifying Brew on 8, our defensive macro on 1, our SBA macro on 0, Celestial Brew on 7, and SBA itself on 4. With what some people call defensives rolling, Monk lived for 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Again, this is the best iteration I could find, and I'm only reporting the longest alive times. With that said, up next is Paladin. Looking at our macros here, our defensive macro for Paladin is cast Moment of Glory, cast Guardian of Ancient Kings, cast Ardent Defender. We'll also be using our original SBA macro, which is cast Avenging Wrath, use 13, cast Bastion of Light, cast Shield of Righteousness. So it has a Holy Spender. Looking at our bar here, we have our defensive macro on 1, our SBA macro on 0, our Holy Bulwark on 7, and SBA itself on 4. Just a quick side note, I really tried to make this work by putting Word of Glory in, but the Paladin went incredibly fast and died in like 30 seconds. With all those defensive macros rolling, Paladin only lived for 2 minutes and 5 seconds, our lowest yet. Last but certainly not least is Warrior. Looking at Warrior's defensive macro, we have cast Last Stand, cast Shield Wall, cast Spell Block, cast Ignore Pain, cast Shield Block. So we're using our original macro here with SBA. That was cast Avatar, cast Demoralizing Shout, and use 13. Looking at our bar here, we have a defensive macro on 1, our SBA macro on 0, shield charge on 7, and SBA itself on 4. With all those defensive macros rolling and SBA, Warrior was able to live for 7 minutes and 22 seconds, taking 2nd place. Looking at our results here, ranking by a lifetime, from least to greatest. In last, we have Pally at 2 minutes and 5 seconds. In 5th, we have Monk at 2 minutes and 16 seconds. In 4th, we have Druid at 4 minutes and 29 seconds. In 3rd, we have DH at 5 minutes and 49 seconds. In 2nd, we have Warrior at 7 minutes and 20 seconds. And in 1st, we have DK with a staggering 10 minutes and 28 seconds. So with our 3 tests done and all our data gathered, let's answer, can you tank in 11.17 using 1 button? And just a side note, if you want to, I'm going to get into some math here, so if you want to skip ahead, there's chapters. There's been chapters this whole time. I don't know if you noticed, but you skip ahead, or you can just stick around. I'm going to try to explain this really quick. Okay, we're going to get into some math here. And I know.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Again, you can skip ahead if you want, but I'm going to explain this. And I'm also going to rank the tanks with this math I'm about to do, okay? Originally, I was going to award points from 1 to 6, 1 being the least and 6 being the most. In this case, Demon Hunter would get 6, Druid would get 5, Warrior would get 4, and so on. But because the numbers here are so close, and the highest is a lot higher than the lowest, I thought that this wouldn't do justice. It wouldn't show exactly what I wanted to. The weighted system must be used where I'm going to give the top score 10 out of 10, and then figure out the percentile of the ones below it. Here are our new weighted results here for SBA alone. If coming in last is Pally at 494,937. It gets 3.6 points. Coming in 5th, we have Monk at 1,099,628. That gets 7.9 points. Coming in 4th, we have DK at 1,349,343. That gets 9.7 points. Coming in 3rd, we have Warrior at 1,354,927. That gets 9.7 points as well. Coming in 2nd, we have Druid at 1,385,535. That gets 9.9 points. Coming in 1st at our max damage, because 10 out of 10, is Demon Hunter at 1,393,040. As you can see, the top damage gets awarded full 10 points, and then everything else is a percent of it. Applying our new weighted system macro. And last we have Monk at 1,337,432. That gets 7.7 points. In 5th, we have DK at 1,478,308. That gets 8.5 points. In 4th, we have Druid at 1,603,510. That gets 9.2 points. In 3rd, we have Pally at 1,620,942. That gets 9.3 points. In 2nd, we have Warrior at 1,698,645. It gets 9.7 points. And in 1st, again, we have DH at 1,744,157. That gets 10 out of 10. Applying the weighted system to our death test results, converting the minutes to seconds, we can calculate our weighted values. That said, coming in last is Pally at 2 minutes and 5 seconds, or 125 seconds, which gets 1.9 points. Coming in 5th is Monk at 2 minutes and 16 seconds, or 136 seconds. It gets 2.2 points. Coming in 4th is Druid at 4 minutes 29 seconds, or 269 seconds. That gets 4.3 points. Coming in 3rd is DH at 5 minutes 49 seconds, or 349 seconds, which gets 5.6 points. Coming in 2nd is Warrior at 7 minutes and 20 seconds, or 440 seconds. That gets 7 points. Coming in 1st is DK at 10 minutes and 28 seconds, or 628 seconds, and that gets 10 points. 10 out of 10. With all of our weighted points tallied, here are our final results. Coming in last place is Pally at 14.8 points. Coming in 5th is Monk at 17.8 points. Coming in 4th is Druid at 23.4 points. Coming in 3rd is DH at 25.6 points. Coming in 2nd is Warrior at 26.4 points. Coming in 1st, overall, is DK at 28.2 points. To sum it up, the results are both surprising and not surprising. It makes sense DK can do it, but also they need a little bit of help. Are they technically one button? Kind of for you to decide. You think toggling is cheating or just smart use of programs? It's up to you to decide. Auto hotkey can do it, so can any day modern keyboard or mice program. So here's the question in the end. Are you the one pushing the buttons, or are you just gonna let the computer take the wheel? Are you gonna log in, learn your rotation and play the game, or are you gonna mash one button and eat some snackies? Do you feel ethically compromised, or are you already too deep in the sauce to care? Will AI start cooking rotations so complex that you won't even know your class anymore? Do you feel like you might become obsolete? Maybe you'll be left behind? You ever play spin the bottle with just your cousins? To answer the original question, can you one button tank in 11.1.7? Technically, yeah. Maybe just not on a paladin or a monk. But should you? Should you? I don't know. Thanks for watching. If you want me to test anything or do anything, just comment below or come over to Twitch and say something there. If your idea is really good, I'll give you a virtual blowy.